noon according to my time here. So I would like to welcome all the people who have joined and who will be joining us. So welcome. This is our first international symposium, and I'm going to share my few words. So for all the information, if you don't have this, we have a website, information is here, and this is an email. If you want, anybody wants to have any information or you want to ask questions or send, you can be in touch with us using these two vehicles. And just to inform everybody, this meeting is being recorded and it will be posted on Facebook and our YouTube. So it's advisable and we request that you all mute. And when you have to ask question, you can unmute or ask question or write this in a chat box. Okay. So just to remind you again, this meeting will be recorded and will be posted on Facebook and our YouTube. So please mute yourself if you're talking about your personal people or anything else. So let's get started. Again, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Mahmoud Hussain. I'm a president of the Abetalipoproteinemia and Related Disorders Foundation. Just a brief history. I'm not going to take too much time. These things has started because of my interest in a protein called microsomal triglyceride transfer protein. So because of my research in this field, I used to get a lot of emails from patients, caregivers, doctors, and I am not a physician, but I try to help and answer this thing. And in this regard, I would like to make a special announcement about Dr. Robert Hagley of Roberts Institute in Canada. He has been very generous with his time and he would almost always answer these questions. In addition, we had several physicians who have, talked to different patients and provided help and guidance in different situations. The idea for the Abetalipoproteinemia Foundation came in 2007 when Dr. Ira Goldberg had invited me to give a talk at Columbia University. During my visit, I had a half-an-hour meeting with Dr. Richard Deckelbaum. That's the meeting when Dr. Richard Deckelbaum suggested that we should establish an Abetalipoproteinemia Foundation. So that was the real moment where we started thinking about a foundation. After that, I reached out to several people, in particular, Dr. Dennis Black and National Organization of Rare Disorders and others. And everybody was very thought that it was a good idea and they were very supportive of the idea. And then I came to know about the Facebook group and got in contact with Paul Biederman. And that was the moment when we started to gather people who are interested in it. Actually, our first gathering happened in 2018. So this is a notes which Debbie Drell of NORD wrote after the end of the meeting. There were about 8 people or 8 or 9 people who attended this teleconference actually. And this was a real movement which resulted into aggregation of people and thoughts and in really forming a reason to establish a foundation. So after that, there have been a quick movement, and in July of 2019, we got an approval from IRS that as a registered nonprofit organization. And in 2022, we became Platinum National Organization of Rare Disorder members. So we have already expanded our associations with different organizations, and we are fully established nonprofit organization. So now I'm going to just introduce different officers involved, and they will be coming up. They will unmute and also show up their faces and then introduce yourself. So to start with, as I said, I'm Mahmoud Hussain. I'm a president and treasurer of the foundation. My background is in research. I'm not a physician, but a PhD. I work on microsomal triglyceride transfer protein. I'm chair and a director here at NYU Long Island School of Medicine. I'm chair of Department of Foundations of Medicine and a director of Diabetes and Obesity Research at NYU Long Island School of Medicine. Because of my interest in MTP, I have been involved in Abetalipoproteinemia. Our vice president is Dr. Richard Deckelbaum. Richard, can you?
Hi, sure. Let's see. I'm unmuted. I'm
Yes.
a pediatric gastroenterologist and nutritionist. Until recently, I was head of the Institute of Human Nutrition at Columbia University, and I've been interested in lipid research for a long time, starting at the Hebrew University, actually Boston University, and then the Hebrew University, where with Eti Ranot, we started to handle Abetalipoproteinemia and related disorders. We had Chylomicron Retention Disease, homozygous hypobeta patients, and we did quite a number of studies on these patients. I'm still highly interested in these problems, and we still have a lot to learn.
Thanks, Richard. Cindy is our secretary. Cindy, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Cindy Bredefels. I'm the secretary of the ABL Plus Foundation. I'm an assistant professor at NYU Long Island School of Medicine. I'm an adult attending endocrinologist, and my focus over a long time has been diabetes and more recently lipid management. And I'm happy to be a part of the foundation.
I'm actually attending a virtual meeting right now.
Hi, Alison. Can you mute?
It's okay. It's
okay. Oh, good. I can mute people here. Okay, continue, Cindy, please.
No, that's it. Attending endocrinologist. My focus is in diabetes and lipid management. I'm the director of the clinical trials as well with diabetes and lipid associated investigational products, and happy to be here with all of you today.
Thanks. And next, I would like to introduce Paul Biederman. He is the patient liaison, and he has played a critical role in this organization. Paul?
Hi, everybody. I don't know if my camera is working. It seems to be working, but I'm not sure. Anyway, y'all can hear me, though, right?
We can hear you, but we can't see you. You have a nice picture here, though.
Yeah, I don't know. That's Yosemite, actually. I took that picture. I don't know what is wrong with my camera. I apologize, but y'all don't need to see me anyway. I'm Paul Biederman. I was born in 1965 and diagnosed in 1966 with Abetalipoproteinemia. I started along with Deb Johnson and Melissa Barnes. We started a Facebook group in 2014 for ABL, as we call it, ABL. I didn't even know there were other illnesses, so that's why it's the Abetalipoproteinemia Facebook group. And then I was contacted in 2018 about starting a foundation. I went, what's a foundation? But here we are. So welcome, everybody.
And now I'd like to introduce Ali Alexander Sloan. Are you available? Just got an email from her this morning that she may not be able to join. Ali was the website curator. She played an important role in establishing our website. And now Joshua has been helping her and taking a lead. Joshua, can you introduce yourself? Are you there?
I'm only seeing like 6 people. I don't know if there's a lot more that I'm not seeing.
Oh, there are a lot of people here. There are 31 participants now.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So it looks like that Joshua is also not here, but he will be presenting. He will be giving a talk later on. So next, I would like to go to our scientific advisory board. The president of the advisory board is Dr. Dennis Black. Dennis, can you please introduce yourself?
Well, thank you, Mahmood. Dennis Black. I am a pediatric gastroenterologist, like Dr. Deckelbaum, and I serve as the director of the Children's Foundation Research Institute in Memphis, and I am a professor at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center, and I'm with the Le Bonheur Children's Hospital. And boy, I became interested in Abetalipoproteinemia very early on when I was actually, I believe, a senior resident. And I diagnosed a patient. I was interested in GI back then. And actually, I got in touch at that point with Dr. Herb Caden, one of the pioneers in the field, and he was so interested in the disease at that time that he came down to Memphis to see my patient and did a adipose tissue biopsy to measure vitamin E. So that tells you how long I've been around with this. But I really then developed an interest in lipid disorders, particularly lipid absorption. My basic research is focused on intestinal lipid absorption in the neonate and apolipoprotein A4. And I am very excited about this organization and a group of diseases that I have had an interest in for a long time. I'll stop there.
Thanks, Dennis. Next, Mitchell Bryn.
Good morning. I'm Mitchell Bryn. I'm a neurologist, and I live in California, where I'm a professor of neurology at UC Irvine. I also work at AbbVie in drug development. I first became interested when I was a resident, I guess like Dennis, in about 1982 or so, when I was very interested in vitamin E deficiency and what are the neurological complications or consequences of vitamin E deficiency. I too, being in New York, when I was at that time, I was at Columbia University. I reached out to Herb Caden, and Herb and I collaborated for many years. I also met with Richard Deckelbaum, who's on the phone here, who at the same time was at Columbia, and we studied patients in terms of the electrophysiological features and the neurological features, and published a bit at that time. And since then, I've had intermittent contact with some of the patients and that I saw in those early days.
Thanks, Mitchell. Etty Gronau.
Hi, my name is Etty Gronot. I'm also a pediatric gastroenterologist, a professor of pediatrics from the Hadassah Hebrew University Medical School in Jerusalem. I've done basics research in lipoproteins and started working with Dr. Deckelbaum more than 40 years ago. We started treating the A beta patients and following them. And I think I know most of the patients in Israel to date. And I think that, like we said, there's a lot still to be done, a lot to be learned on these diseases.
Thanks, Etty. And then Anne-Marie McPhail. Anne-Marie. She's a patient. I don't see her yet on the list. Maybe she will join soon. Anne-Marie, you are there. Can you unmute yourself and then introduce yourself?
Anne-Marie McPhail, I don't think is going to be here today, but
I guess not. We will ask her to introduce herself a little later. So again, that was the introduction, and I welcome you again. As I told you before, this is being recorded, and then hopefully we will be able to post this on. And then I will stop sharing and then ask Paul to talk about the current status of Abetalipoproteinemia Foundation. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Oh, we didn't record before.
Yeah, hold on. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I got too many windows open here. So yeah, the Abetalipoproteinemia Foundation was founded in 2018. The URL, in case anybody here doesn't have it, is ablfoundation.org. And the email address is abetafoundation@gmail.com. The reason they're different is that there's actually a college fraternity that has the website A Beta Foundation, so we couldn't get that one. So on the website, if you go to the information page, we have letters to doctors and to insurance companies about the various vitamins that Abetalipoproteinemia and related illnesses patients need. We have articles that the foundation has published in medical journals. There's also a patient resources page, which talks about our acceptance into NORD. We have a Facebook group, which is, if you just search Facebook for Abetalipoproteinemia, you'll find the group. It's a private group, but just ask to join. There's a couple of questions, and then we'll let you in. We were one of the fastest organizations ever admitted into NORD, probably because of how rare these illnesses are. My understanding is that they have more stringent requirements in most cases before allowing a new foundation in, including how long they've been a foundation. So we got in very quickly, and that led to myself and Dr. Hussein and Anna-Marie McPhail and her husband attending the NORD Summit in Washington, D.C. in this past October of 2022. That was a real eye-opener, at least for me personally, and I think it was for everybody, about how much work we really have to do. There are a lot of foundations that have obviously been established a lot longer than we have, but they do a ton of work that we just haven't gotten into yet, and so we're endeavoring to expand our reach to be able to help our patients more. Part of that was gathering some resources that you'll find on that patient resource page, like I discussed. One of the ones that I didn't know about was that there is a couple of companies that if you need to fly to get to medical appointments, they will fly you for free. So that's one of the resources that's on there. We also established a YouTube channel. I made videos of almost every meeting I went to at the summit. The summit lasted for 2 days, and they were all day long. So I made videos of every session that I went to, and they're on YouTube. If you search YouTube for ABL Foundation, you'll find the channel. Right now they're all private, but I can send out links to anybody who needs them. I have to find out whether or not I'm allowed to make them public. I think I am, but I'm not positive. One thing that we found that we need to look at is to establish a patient database. It is something that we are keenly interested in doing. That takes a lot of funding, and it takes a lot of work. Actually, NORD put out a request recently for foundations that didn't have a database to apply to get one at kind of a discount, kind of a sponsored database, which we applied for. I believe this week we found out that we were denied on that, but we still want to do it. We also want to look at certain things, such as every state in America has, I forget what it's called, but there's a panel that can do blood testing on children when they're born to see if there's any unusual illnesses, and we would like to get Abetalipoproteinemia involved in that. So that is something we have to work with the individual states for. So other future goals that we have is to promote clinical trials, which we link on our website to clinicaltrials.gov. Like I said, we want to start a patient database. I'd love to find somebody who really knows social media that can develop a real social media strategy. And we have a Facebook page, we have a YouTube channel, but we need somebody that can really push that stuff along, because I'm not that good at them. And continue to raise awareness in the medical community and especially in the insurance community, because as I'm sure we'll find out today, one of the biggest problems is that because we take vitamins being our medication, insurance companies don't consider those medications. So it's a real fight with them to try and get them to understand that for us, these are medications, which is one of the reasons the doctors on the foundation were so kind to write the letters for each required vitamin, vitamin A, vitamin K, and vitamin E, and those are on our website. Obviously raise funds because everything we want to do costs money. And we want to participate more in NORD. So every year NORD does this NORD Summit and they sponsor someone to attend the summit for free. I was the one they sponsored this year, but we'd be happy to send somebody else next year. They fly you out there and they put you up in the hotel. So it was a really amazing experience, and I'm glad I did it. So that's where the foundation is right now. We're still establishing ourselves and trying to build, and that's some of the things we want to do.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So you are the session one. So we'll start the session one, patient and caregiver experiences. Paul, you are the beta moderator. You wanna take care of this? Okay.
Yes, so I believe the first patients we're going to hear from or caregivers are Anne-Marie Rossi Buccino and her daughter regarding Anne-Marie's grandson, Louis. So Anne-Marie, take it away.
Okay, hi everyone. We're here today to tell you about our experiences in raising Louis. Louis is 7 years old. He was born in January of 2016, and we had quite a journey trying to figure out what was going on with him. We initially had quite a few feeding difficulties with him, and I'll go through a little bit with you. Although it was an experience, some of it's a little hard to remember, but being born January 2nd, by March 7th, when we went in for a well check, Louis's pediatrician immediately sent us up to the Children's Hospital in Norfolk, Virginia, because of failure to thrive concerns. He was born at 4 pounds, 13 ounces. And at this point, he was just a little over 5 pounds. And she sent us straight up to be admitted to the hospital. And they tried various different formulas for Louis, and nothing seemed to be working. And he was having constant diarrhea issues and very foul smelling stools. And he was also having a lot of issues with vomiting. We would no sooner get something into him and it would come right back out both ends. So there were a lot of concerns, and GI came in and did numerous different tests on him. There were endoscopies done, colonoscopies done, and they determined that he had Abetalipoproteinemia. And so our journey began with ABL, and we were in the hospital for, I guess it was almost 2 weeks. And when we got out of the hospital, we started meeting with the GI nutritionist. And again, they were trying different formulas to see what would work with him. We probably went through a good 7 or 8 different formulas, and still nothing seemed to be working for him. He had the distended tummy, and they started him on the Aquadex. They started him on Aqua E. He had an NG tube to try and get night feeds in him so that we could get extra nutrition into him. Eventually, he ended up with a G tube for feedings, and that was when he was almost a year old, I believe it was. And he still has that G tube to this day, and he's still getting night feedings because he still is not gaining weight the way a normal 7-year-old should be. At 7 years old, he's barely over 33 pounds.
He's still on formula.
And still on formula. That is his only form of nutrition at this point. When Louis was just barely over a year, we also had another surprise. He also has a very large chromosome deletion on the 4th chromosome. So he's got other things going on with his little body as well. We have a large, we started this many years ago, of course, almost from day one. I don't know if you can see it, but this is a daily list that we keep for Lewis of his ins and outs, his medications, everything that goes on with him when he gets sick, everything. His medications, the dosages that we give him, when we give them to him, anything, when he has a poop, what kind of poop he has, because it might be liquid, it might look like scrambled eggs. I mean, just everything. And you all know this because you doctors have studied it, other parents have experienced it. But we have these records on a daily basis for the last 7 years of everything that's happened with his little body. The whole diagnosis, the whole figuring out what he should eat, it hasn't been easy. It wasn't easy for us. It wasn't easy for his doctor because this was the first ABL patient that his doctor has ever treated. We had an issue back when I guess he was about 10, 11 months old, where we didn't feel that his doctor was doing enough and found out enough about ABL. And we had to have a real heart-to-heart with the doctor and basically tell him that you're not doing enough, and tell the doctor what we thought he wasn't doing and what he should be doing. And the doctor agreed with us at that point and apologized profusely to us. And we told the doctor, we need you to reach out and contact these other doctors. And we gave him some names that I had researched on the internet of doctors. And one of them was Dr. Hagley. And we said, you need to contact these doctors that have this experience, that have worked with these patients before. And you need to find out what really should be going on and what this baby needs to be eating. And that's how we ended up with the Monogen formula, I believe, that Lewis has been now on for all these years, and it seems to be working much better for him. Lewis is on, where's that, the one? Oh, he gets mega doses of Aqua E every day. The, what used to be called Aquadex, what's it called now? Becca's, because Aquadex went away. He gets additional E capsules. What is his overall daily dosage of Aquadex of
vitamin E?
Vitamin E,
2,800 IUs.
He's getting 2,800 IUs daily of vitamin E, and when he has his blood tests, his E still doesn't even register. So we don't. His E just is unbelievable. The mega doses that he gets, and it still doesn't register in his blood tests. His A is fine.
His A is fine.
His D is fine, but the E is just unbelievable that it can't register with the doses that he's on. He still on a daily basis has gas problems, and we have to give him gas relief for that. Being as he has this chromosome deletion, he is nonverbal. So he can't tell us when he has problems. We kind of have to guess what might be going on with him. So gas trouble is the first thing we always look to. And fortunately, Little Remedy's gas relief is a
lifesaver.
A lifesaver. It's the one thing we can give him that we don't have to worry about. If it's not a problem, it's okay if we gave it to him, and it generally solves his little day-to-day problems. He gets walnut oil on a daily basis, fish oil on a daily basis, and he's got other medical problems that we also have to treat for him with other medications. And as Paul mentioned, none of these vitamins are covered by Medicaid because of the fact that they're considered over-the-counter vitamins, not truly medications. And we've struggled for years where his GI doctor has tried to work with us with Medicaid to get these things covered. And of course, it has gotten us nowhere. We get our medications through, I shouldn't say medications, I'm sorry. We get his vitamins through Callion Pharma, who, because of the volume of the vitamin E that he takes, they have given us some discounts on those vitamins, which has helped a little bit. But of course, it would help a whole lot more if they would be covered, just as any medication would be covered. What else? Is there anything else that we've left out that's really important, Amy?
I don't think so.
And that's pretty much it. Does anybody have questions for us? No? Okay.
No questions?
Crystal gets physical therapy too.
Oh, yes, he's been getting physical therapy since he was 6 months old. And it hasn't done, he's also non-mobile. And that's partly the hypotonia from the ABL plus the chromosome deletion that he has.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You mentioned that his genetic problem was a deletion on chromosome 4.
Yes.
Well, you know, the gene for Abetalipoproteinemia, the MTTP gene, is also on chromosome 4.
Yes, we're aware of that.
So that may be, depending on exactly where the deletion is, that might be.
It's within his deletion, yes.
Okay, so that explains that. Plus, it sounds like he has a lot of other issues with probably genes in that deletion as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just to address your issue with vitamin E, vitamin E is transported in lipoproteins in the plasma, so it's always low when you measure it.
But it doesn't even register at all.
Yeah, you may have heard me mention earlier that the first patient I had, Dr. Caden, who was kind of a pioneer at the time, was depending on actually aspirates of adipose tissue where vitamin E is stored to actually assess the body's stores of vitamin E, because you really can't use the plasma levels at all. You could have enough on board, but it wouldn't be reflected in the levels. As a matter of fact, I think I saw Dr. Traber on here, who's a vitamin E expert, and she might comment on that as well.
Okay.
I also see that Jessamy posted something in the meeting chat, a couple of comments that you guys might find informational.
Okay.
If you look down at the bottom, it says chat. You can click on that. Or Jessamy is welcome to unmute and speak if they want.
Okay.
Hi, I just wanted to share. I have a daughter who is 19 with Abetalipoproteinemia, and as I mentioned in the chat, we did work with several doctors plus our dietitian, and they published a formula that was very beneficial to our daughter. We had tried some off-the-shelf ones within, the first weeks after she was diagnosed at age 6 months, and she was not doing well on them. And we found a dietitian who did a custom formula it was just powdered carbohydrates. I think it was polycose, provimin, plus a couple of mixed oils for the essential fatty acids. And she did so well on it. She went from failure to thrive to thriving in a normal weight back at the 50th percentile within about a month. And she's doing well on basically a fat-free diet at college, having a normal life. So
Wonderful.
very, very much wanting to share that. We also did hear that the MCT-based formulas could be damaging to the liver over the long term because, it just contributes to the fatty liver.
Right.
And that's what Lewis has, a fatty liver.
Lewis does have a fatty liver, yes. Jessamy, if you wouldn't mind if we could speak to you further about that outside of this, we'd appreciate that.
Sure. I just posted the name of the article that was published, and the reason it took a long time. I kept encouraging our team to get it in writing because it is distressing to me that there wasn't, a published formula because doctors just tend to want to go to the off-the-shelf options.
Right.
And not believe in this, custom formula.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Any other questions for Anne-Marie?
Anne-Marie, she's related to you how directly?
This is my grandson.
Your grandson.
Mhm.
Okay. And no one else in the family has any similar problem?
No.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move on then. The next person, Joshua Williamson, are you here? I texted Joshua to see if he was going to make it, and he hasn't replied via text. Are you here, Joshua?
I don't see his name.
Yeah, I don't think I haven't heard from him in a couple of weeks, so unfortunately, maybe he's not going to be able to attend. Joshua is recently found us. He's in his early 20s. He was diagnosed as a 16-year-old only because his mother is like a lab technician, and she asked him one day, they didn't know what was wrong with him. They knew he had something wrong all those years, but his mother is a lab tech, and she asked him one day if he wanted to see his blood under a microscope, and she drew some blood, and they saw acanthocytosis. And that was the key to them figuring out what was wrong with him. So I was hoping he would be here. He was going to discuss that, being diagnosed at a later age, but evidently he could not make it today. So the next people we have are the Wells family, talking about ABL and a 5-year-old. Are they here?
Yes, hi, we're here.
Hello, go ahead.
I'm Mendel. And I'm Batsheva. We're parents to Yael, who's 5 years old. Yael was diagnosed when she was 4 months old, and she's treated ever since at Professor Etigranot. The best way we thought would be to present how Yael handled Abeta, and the way she handles it daily was to ask her some questions and see how she answers. So we made a little video with her. I just want to say that this was Professor Etigranot's idea to do this video, and it was amazing. She really enjoyed participating. And also in general, the way Professor Etigranot treats us with so much patience and just like time for everything, we really, really appreciate it. So yeah, here's the video. And if you have any questions after, please let us know.
Okay, so we'll share the video. 1 second. Yeah. Okay, tell me when you see. You can see?
Yep.
Okay.
You may have to hit play.
Yeah, 1 second. There's something.
Okay.
And I'm 5 years old and I'm going to Ganta. And next year I'm in the first grade and I was a student. Her name is Adina.
What is a beta?
A beta is down now fat and it makes my tummy hurt.
What do we do to take care of a beta?
I go to the doctor to do blood test, to check eyes and make sure not to eat food with that. And I take vitamins.
What vitamins do you take?
Motive, A, E, and Coniquion.
What days do you take Coniquion?
Tuesday and Friday.
And when do you take the vitamin E?
Every night and every morning.
And who reminds to take, do you remember by yourself to take the vitamins, or does mommy need to remind it to you?
Sometimes I need you to scan me, and sometimes I can't remember myself.
You do blood tests sometimes, right? Is it scary to do blood tests?
Yes, I'm Gibora.
What is the blood test that you do? What do they check?
That if my body is healthy, if I'm strong, if I have a lot of vitamins.
Kindergarten do you go to this year? And where are you going to go next year?
The first grade.
Do you like GAN, Tommy? Do you like your kindergarten?
Yes.
Do you have a lot of friends?
Yes.
How do you explain in GAN to the teacher and your friends what you're allowed and what you're not allowed? What do you say?
I tell them, please bring something without fat.
Before a party, you ask them to bring something without fat?
Yeah.
What do you...
mommy's shopping, or a birthday, and a party.
Or a party? And what do you tell them? Why you're not allowed? You explain to them?
Yeah. That my tummy is gonna hurt.
The way it works in Yael's kindergarten is that the school provides the same lunch for everyone. The way we handle it with Yael is that I ask for the menu every month, and I try to make something similar to send with Yael every day.
Would you want to eat what everyone eats? Or do you like bringing special food home?
But everyone.
What do you eat for lunch in GAN?
Something similar that I bring from home.
Like going to friends' houses?
Yes.
What do you tell the friend when you go there and the mommy gives you something that you're not allowed?
Or she takes a picture.
What does she do with the picture?
Sends it to you.
She sends it to me, and then I say if it's something you're allowed or not.
Yeah.
Or
I tell her if I'm allowed or not.
That's right. And would you want me to call your friend's mommy before you go there and tell her about Abeta, or you prefer to take care of it by yourself?
I prefer to take care of it by myself.
Okay. When we go to family's house, when we go to Saba and Safta's house or to Bobby and Zadie's house, what do you eat there?
They make me special food that I'm allowed.
And what do you do when you have cousins at Saba and Safta's house, like Tamar or Renana or Hillel, and they bring a candy or something that you're not allowed? What do you do?
After Bobby to switch.
She switches. And what do you do if Adina brings home from GAN something that you're not allowed?
Switch and home.
How does it feel to have a beta?
What?
Is it hard?
I was doing three things.
Why?
My friends and my family be with Dada now, then I'm a little bit jealous.
Do you remember that sometimes we do for you eye tests?
Every 2 years, we now go to the hospital that mommy works. They put me to sleep. I have a mask around my mouth. And they check something and I wake up. I also go to the eye doctor, and she just put drops in my eyes, and she checks something and there.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to say?
Yes. We do the best, and she does the rest.
Thank you so much for that video.
Okay. Yeah.
You had a great time doing it. Thank you.
So yeah, it's not been easy, like to raise her up with all taking care of the beta and making sure she always has like the right intention all the time. Also to make sure she has good nutrition to fight with her to eat, and my wife here is really doing a lot of effort into it. It's not been easy. I just don't want you to like get to see the video and see, oh wow, this little nice amazing girl, she's beautiful and everything is good. So it's I'm sure we did struggle a lot.
But yeah, it's been a journey, but we're working it out.
Yeah.
And she's really cute, and yeah. If there are any questions, we're happy to answer.
I just want to make sure everybody understands. You guys are in Israel, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought so, but I wanted to make sure. Does anybody else have questions for them?
So there is a question, what are the eye tests for?
So we do 2 types of eye tests. First of all, we check every year to make sure, because as I don't know if maybe someone's going to explain about it, but one of the side effects of Abeta is that they have eye problems in the retina from the lack of vitamin A. So we go once a year to a regular eye test just to put drops in. They make the pupil large. They check inside the retina to make sure everything looks normal. And then once every 2 years, we do in the hospital ERG. She's still young, so they put her to sleep for it, and they check. It's basically to see the electrical, something with the retina and electrical reaction. So that we do every 2 years.
And there will be talk about ocular problems, eye problems in beta later in the sessions.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I'll just jump in for a sec. It's called retinitis pigmentosa, which is the eye disease of A beta, and it's associated also with the lack of vitamin E. And so that's why all the patients are getting vitamin A and vitamin E.
I have a question. It's in the chat in there. I was wondering, my mom's Israeli, so it's so nice to hear your accents and Hag Sameach. But yeah. So I was wondering what it's like within the Israeli health system. They're probably, I don't know if they're more supportive but the American one, because it's private, like there's so many rules for like what qualifies, what doesn't. Like I changed insurers and they wouldn't cover a formula all of a sudden. But do you feel like she's like had the same level of care the whole way?
So I have to say a lot of it is thanks to Professor Eti Gernot, who really fights for us. She writes the letters for all the doctor offices. She tells us exactly what to do, which is a lot thanks to her. We do have to fight a lot to get like even the vitamins, because they think, oh, it's vitamins, so like you don't really need it. So I'm sure everyone has the same experience with that. But I think it is a little bit easier here because it's not private. So just the way the system works, I think like the tests and everything, it is subsidized.
Is there a lot of bureaucracy with it? I ask because I've lived in Israel and I know that there's always a lot of forms and a lot of people you have to talk to for
Exactly.
everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's like that here. It's just, more aggressive, I guess, probably.
Right.
Thank you for those questions. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. That was a wonderful presentation. She is so cute. And
thank you so much.
We wish you all the best with her. She's really amazing.
Thank you.
Next we have the McDermott and Bruno family. Are they here? They're here to talk about Chylomicron Retention Disease.
Yes, I am here.
Go ahead.
Hi, hello. I don't think we've mentioned CRD so far, but it certainly is related to A beta, and we have the exact same problems. It's just a little bit different on the genetic side. We had the exact same things, Anne-Marie, that you guys had when your grandson started out with our son Luca. He was born and immediately he couldn't keep anything down. It was really hard, I mean, listening to the ABL family, my heart goes out to all of you because I know what it's like. That first year is just, really it's hell because you don't know what you're supposed to do to get your baby to eat. For us, because we were in Northern California, and I don't know how much this has to do, but they basically thought it was a breastfeeding issue, even though it was my second kid. And so they thought it was maybe a faulty latch and all these different things. And it took 6 months before he was finally admitted to the hospital. He had failure to thrive. He was very, very, very thin. And let me see if I can find you a picture very quickly. Hold on. So let me share my screen. Desktop. Okay. Let's see if this will let you see my screen real quick. Well, maybe I'll just upload it. He was very thin. By the time he went to the hospital, he was 7 months old, almost 8 months old, and he only weighed about 12 pounds. And he was 7 pounds when he was born. And it was the same thing. They couldn't figure it out. What is it? Is it an allergy? Is it dairy? What is it that he has? And it was very frustrating. We went through a lot of tests, all the colonoscopies, all the scans, a couple biopsies, and he was just a little tiny baby. So finally, at first they thought it was A beta, and they tried treating it like that, and that didn't seem to really do much. And then on his first birthday, ironically, they called us and they said, we did the genetic panel, and it turns out that he has Chylomicron Retention Disorder. Which I think probably I speak for all the caregivers on here when I say that it's overwhelming to hear that noise or to hear that news from somebody, because you just feel like, how are you going to deal with this massive thing for the rest of their life? And how do you keep them healthy? And I'll tell you, with Luca, it has been a hit or miss, I would like to give a hat tip to Dr. Deckelbaum. He has been a fearless advocate for us and so much help. Once they put Luke on an elemental formula, he started to gain weight. Dr. Deckelbaum suggested a different formula, Monogen, and it made all the difference in the world. So our baby, who is so skinny, went from being, a teensy tiny. Let me see if you can see that. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, so that's where he was before he went into the hospital. He's 8 months old here, and just very, very small, distended tummy. You can see here, not gaining in the extremities at all. And he went from that to later on the Monogen, becoming very, very plump, and now here he is today. He just turned 4 last weekend, had a big party. And here he is right now. He's getting ready for his Purim party later. So he's very excited to be a pirate. And we're very excited that he's doing so well. But, I think, Batsheva, and you guys, you said everything correctly, because hold on, let me get back to, can you guys see me? Hold on, let me just, can you guys see me, or are you just looking at my desktop?
Yeah, looking at desktop, you might have to unshare it.
Okay, hold on. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, between those years of turning 1 and turning 4, we have tried all kinds of different things. We've tried different diets. We've tried different types of vitamins. We've tried different types of supplements, also with the eye tests. Whatever basically is recommended by Dr. Deckelbaum, it's a constant, I'm not going to say struggle with the doctors, but it's constant conversation with the doctors and the nutritionists to say, look, we know you haven't treated this before, but you have to give it a priority, right? Like, this is not just a kid who has diabetes and you give him some, insulin. Like, this is what helps him survive. And we've found through trial and error that there are certain things that you really wouldn't think he'd be able to digest, right? He can't digest long chain fatty acids, but there are a lot of medium chain fatty acids that he's been able to take to just fine. He can eat lamb, which he really enjoys. He has different types of oils that we use. We use pure coconut oil to help him bulk up a little bit. And otherwise, because we're Mediterranean, my husband is Sicilian Jewish and I'm Mexican Jewish, Sephardic Jewish, we already eat a lot of the things that would have been good for him in the first place. So he loves, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, asparagus, anything spicy, lots of grains, anything that you would expect to see, fish, and we just keep it right in that MCT level, and he has been thriving and doing really well. Anne Marie is absolutely right that you can tell immediately from their diaper or from how they're going potty whether or not you're feeding them something that they can't thrive on or that they can't digest. You can tell that immediately. His distension isn't really present anymore, which we're very lucky to have. And right around Thanksgiving, we had blood panels done because he'd been on, some formula up until now, even though he's eating mostly solids. I would say 95% solids. It's been psychologically hard for us to let go of the formula because it was the first thing that he thrived on. But we took him off of it for 2 months, and then we did some blood panels, and the blood panels showed that he was nutritionally fine. He had to undergo a lot of therapy that year between 1 and 2. He had to have a feeding therapist because he didn't know how to chew. His throat was all messed up from all the vomiting. He had to have a speech therapist. He had to have a physical therapist to learn how to do all the things he needed to do. But now he's at all of his milestones, which has been great. And we could not have done it without Dr. Deckelbaum's help and support, just telling us, which way to go and how to help. And, we've been very, very lucky. He knows that it's a lot like you were talking about with Yael, like he knows there are certain things that he just can't have. We've been lucky on the Jewish side because there are so many different chocolate options that don't have dairy in them. So when it's like Halloween or something like that, or Hanukkah, we get all the non-dairy chocolate we can find. And he does okay with that. It doesn't seem to make him really uncomfortable or even show up in the way that he processes it. So that's where we are with that. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I see Tracy Lee. Hi, Tracy Lee. We also have a Facebook group. It's been great. We have met a whole bunch of other parents who have kids with CRD, kids younger than our kid, and kids all the way up to, in their teens. So, and they're all over the place. They're in South Africa, they're in India, they're in DC. I think one of them is in Tennessee. And they all have different tips for all the different things that they do. I also think that, it goes on a spectrum. Some people have cases that are really profound and they can't tolerate anything. Other kids, you can try it out. And like with Luca, he shouldn't be able to have olive oil, but olive oil doesn't bother him at all. So, hi, Tracy. So yeah, I think it really just depends on the kid. And the best thing that I would say you can do is find an expert and talk to that expert about any questions or anything you have, because they know a billion times more than your pediatrician and your nutritionist, and they will help you figure out how to navigate it. Any questions?
Yeah, I do see some comments and questions in the chat.
No, really?
Yeah, if you want to look at those.
Look at the chat.
Yeah, I do see some questions in the chat. I'm not very good at reading them. If you want to look at those.
Okay.
So there is a question that Riley had her GIT appointment this past Wednesday, and her doctor said she definitely has ADHD. Is this related to CMRD?
I haven't heard that. Luca is a normal 4-year-old boy, which means that he's bouncing off or tearing down the walls anyway. So I don't know if I don't think it's ADHD, but I haven't personally heard that. It could be. I mean, Tracy, if I were you, I would post that in this CRD Facebook and see how many other kids we have. We found out so many things in that group. Talking to other mothers and other fathers and saying, "Oh yeah, that's weird. You know, she does that too." And they weren't things that I'd ever read. I'm a reporter by trade. I'm a news editor, and when I found out what he had, I read every possible paper that was out there, and I found Dr. Deckelbaum, and I don't think that there's still a lot that's known about it, really. So, yeah. Dr. Deckelbaum, anything else?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if on the screen, because we helped work out chylomicron retention disease actually while I was actually working in Jerusalem, but I would come for the summers, and we worked at Hôpital Saint-Justine in Quebec, and there's quite a few patients from Quebec, and I wonder if any of the Quebec families are on. And as well, we had families, when I was working in Jerusalem, we had families from Lebanon, and I wonder if they're part of the group.
Yeah, it was interesting for us because usually when they do the screenings, they ask, "Are you Ashkenazi Jewish?" And we're not. We're Sephardic Jewish, but it's still, not a huge gene pool. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a cluster variation. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
So, when you read the literature, it says there's 50 families that are affected, but I think it's more. We know they have families in France as well.
It's the same with Abetalipoproteinemia. At first they used to tell me and my family, "Oh no, it's a Jewish thing," and then, "Oh well, no, maybe it's not a Jewish thing," and well, there's about 100 cases. Well, no, there's a lot more than 100. So yeah, we're still learning too.
I think with social media, we'll find out a lot more. We've found at least 6 to 8 families on the Facebook page that we have in just the last year, and I think people are looking for it, and it's just a little bit different than A beta, but just finding people who have the exact thing that our kids have. I think that there really is an underestimation, and I think that now there's genetic tools where they can actually find it. I mean, they told us at first he probably has A beta, and we thought, okay, but when they treated him for that, it didn't respond, and it took 3 months for the really comprehensive, million disease list, whatever thing. And we were talking about the rare disease blood test at birth earlier, and they don't have that on. They didn't have it on any list in California, and they do it. The first thing. And so that's what they kept saying is, well, it can't be any of these diseases because he didn't test positive. So. All right. Well,
Jessamy, did you have some comments or questions?
I have a question. So you said you basically give him a little bit oil. Like, could you elaborate a little bit more? Like you said, you give him olive oil, and then he's fine. Luca is fine with that. So how did you try, and how did you figure out what's good for him and what is not?
Yeah, I mean, it's really scary, right? Because when we try new things, we're always having in the back of our head, like how sick he was. You know what I mean? So we don't want to go through that again. He doesn't remember it. For us, it was very, very traumatic. So when we try new things, we try it, and as much isolated as possible. I think just cooking, like tossing it in pasta, I think, because obviously my husband's Sicilian, we eat a lot of pasta. And, he didn't have a reaction to it. He didn't have bad diapers. His tummy didn't swell up. He's old enough now to tell us, oh, my tummy hurts and I don't feel good. And it's pretty obvious when things don't agree with him. Now, with the coconut oil, that was recommended by his nutritionist because it's a medium chain fat. So we give him 2 teaspoons of that in milk or in a liquid, and he just gobbles it up, and it's really helped him put on bulk and mass. So, but whenever we try a new food, we try it and we see the diapers, or we see when he goes potty. And if he's in any kind of discomfort, we just don't try it again. But there have been a variety of things where we're like, no way, he can really eat that, and he does. So.
Oh, great. Thank you very much for sharing.
No, thanks so much for having me. I'm going to hand it to the next speaker, but Chag Sameach for everybody who's Jewish on this.
Yeah,
Chag Sameach.
Purim is so much fun, so I can't wait to.
We have the Jerusalem Purim actually, so it's
oh my gosh, it's so I love it in Israel. It's so fun in Israel, because everybody does it and everybody.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome to come visit.
No, I know, but I come with you. I have to go see all my relatives too. So, all right, guys, thanks for listening.
Thank you for that. We appreciate it a lot. That was one of the illnesses that I don't know if I ever even heard of it until I went to the Nord Summit. That was the first time I ever heard of CMRD. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So I'm next, and this should be an interesting contrast because I know we have a lot of people here that obviously have young children, and we have some that are young adults here in the group as well. I'm 57, and I was born with A beta. I was diagnosed, like I said, in 1966. My mom is here. Thank you, Mom. She was the advocate that kept fighting and kept pushing to get somebody to figure out what it was. And thanks to her and a doctor from Massachusetts named Dr. Robert Lees, who diagnosed me in 1966. So my message to you guys here is to talk about living with A beta or one of these illnesses as an older adult. If you do the math, like I have to do in my head sometimes, like I said, I'm 57. My message today is be prepared. I realize that not all patients are here have the ability to advocate for themselves, and we have some caregivers here as well. And that's my message: is be prepared. Be prepared to tell every doctor you ever seek treatment from what your illness is and how it's treated, because 9 out of 10 of them, if not more, are going to say to you, oh, I think I've heard of that, but I don't really know what it is. So be prepared for that. Make sure you have the ABL Plus Foundation website address to give them. We have documentation and articles that you can point doctors to, explaining what these illnesses are and how they're treated. We have letters for the doctors and for insurance companies about the vitamin therapies. And I'm sure if needed, our doctors on the board here would be happy to provide a consultation, legal ramifications and boundaries respected, of course. Be prepared. Be prepared to fight with the insurance companies to try and convince them that our vitamins are necessary medications, not just dietary supplements. That's what they always think. Oh, it's vitamin E, that's a dietary supplement. You don't need us to pay for that. And again, the foundation has letters that can help you with that. Be prepared for some very awful bedside manner. Some doctors are not very good at people skills. I had a doctor one time that literally sat next to me and talked about me like she was reading out of a medical journal, and I was sitting right there. I'm like, hello, I'm here too, you know. I had another doctor a few years ago that an ophthalmologist who walked into the room, sat down in front of me, and said, "Yeah, you're gonna go blind. Sorry, that sucks." Got up and walked out. I guess he didn't see that my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe it. So you'll hear some of that kind of stuff too. be prepared to advocate for yourself or for the patient that you take care of. Doctors will want to run every test they've ever heard of. Be prepared to say no if you don't think it would be beneficial. I've been through every test you can imagine. Now I'm at a point in my life where if a doctor says, hey, I want to run a test, I say, well, what's it going to do for me? How's it going to benefit me? Because if it's not going to benefit me, especially if it's an invasive test, I usually say no. I don't need that anymore. I've been through all of that. I don't need to go through it again. And be prepared. Be prepared to retire early. Unfortunately, if you're able to work and live independently as I am, I retired at 40 years old. And if you're an American, be prepared to fight with Social Security Administration to prove that you're disabled. When I decided to retire, I applied for Social Security and they denied me. They sent me to two of their doctors. Both of their doctors said, oh no, he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. He can work. I had to go to a doctor here in Los Angeles who basically lied to the Social Security Administration. She told them that my illness was like chronic fatigue syndrome. And they went, oh, okay, he's disabled. And so I've been on Social Security ever since 2006. So be prepared for that kind of challenge. And be prepared for your future, to live the best life you can be. I bought my condo 12 years ago. And when I was looking, I was still driving. I was still fairly good, I thought. But I specifically was looking for a place that was downstairs because I knew that I was getting neuropathy and ataxia in my legs. And I was looking for a place that was within walking distance of food shopping and of public transit because I knew there might come a time where I wouldn't be able to drive, and that time came much sooner than I thought. It was actually about 8 years ago that I had an incident that caused me to realize that I could not drive anymore, and I sold my car and relinquished my license so that I wouldn't even have the temptation. And if you are fortunate enough to be able to buy a home, transfer the title of the home into a trust, because that way if you incur high medical expenses, they can't put a lien on the home if the home is not in your name. So look at that as well. And learn how to cook. I know a lot of people are not great cooks, but as we've all talked about today, our diets are they're kind of simple, but they're very specific. And Dr. Greneau is going to talk more about diet here in a little bit. But yeah, learn how to cook if you're not good at it. At least learn how to cook a few very simple things. I could probably go on, but I'll finish by saying that life with these rare illnesses is not easy, and it could certainly get harder as you get older. Be prepared as best you can to live the life that you want. And I'm lucky. I have a pretty good life. I have an amazing girlfriend, wonderful friends, and a very loving and supportive family. So thank goodness for that. I don't know where I'll be in 10 years, but if you had told me in 1987, when I was living on the street in Florida working day labor, that 30 years later I'd own my own home in California, I would have said you were crazy. So you just never know. The best you can do is to prepare to live the life the best that you can. And just to finish up, we talk a lot about these illnesses with failure to thrive and low weight and low height. I was a skinny little shrimp of a kid. As my mom will tell you, I was probably like 5 feet and maybe 90 pounds when I started high school. I am now at 57 years old. I'm 5'11" and 180 pounds. And my doctors go, well, you can't be 180 pounds. You have A beta. And I go, well, I am. So, that's how life is. You never know. Every illness, every body is different. Every person is different, and you never know what's going to happen. So don't give up. Keep fighting. That's my message today. I'm happy to take any questions. If not, I think we're going to take a break.
Wait 1 second, Paul.
Yes.
Why don't you mention what you mentioned to us a few times, difficulties with compliance and taking all the vitamins daily.
Yeah. So Dr. Deckelbaum has done a good job of beating into my head that I need to take my vitamins. Now, my mom will tell you that I was a bit of a rebel. I spent most of my life, or at least half of it, thinking that A beta was nothing. It wasn't really affecting me. I felt fine. Yeah, I had to watch my diet, but that was about it. And I didn't take my vitamins. And because of that now, I have neuropathy and ataxia, and I'm considered by the state of California legally blind. My retinitis pigmentosa symptoms have gotten to the point where I have about 50% of my vision, which is why I can't drive anymore. So yeah, take your vitamins. It's hard, I know. God, I'm supposed to take over 40 pills a day, and it's hard. It's hard to take that much. I've had to literally train myself to be able to swallow handfuls of them at a time because I have a pretty strong gag reflex, and I've literally had to train myself. So yeah, it's not easy, but you have to. As the doctors will tell you, it's our medicine, it's our medication, it's what will keep us as healthy as possible. And had I done that all my life, sorry, Mom, had I done that all my life, I'd probably be in a lot better position than I am now. But I'm still here, and I'm happy and as healthy as I can be, and I keep fighting.
So I'd like to point out something that, if we look at all this organization of rare diseases, what's different about A beta and related disorders? It's treatable. These conditions are treatable. And that's a lot different than a lot of the other rare diseases. But what we're hearing is that treatment isn't all that easy, and diagnosis isn't easy, or it's not recognized. So I think part of the role of the foundation is to really help make treatment be easier, make sure that the word gets out that people should recognize. When I teach medical students, one of the things I say, even you need to know the rare diseases that are treatable. And here we have treatable disease, these related disorders to A beta. But the treatment isn't easy, but it's doable. And what we're doing as a foundation, and this is where we're going to need your input, how do we make treatment easier? And I'm just looking here at Tracy Lee's comment that the medical team in South Africa sort of it's not easy to deal with. And you've heard from about Luca, and I'm not the treating physician. What I try to do, and what others of us in the foundation are trying to do, is we link up with not just the families, but the medical teams, and we try to educate the medical teams who are the treating physicians. Because, for example, I'm only licensed to practice medicine in Quebec, New York, and in Israel. So I can't practice in South Africa, and I can't practice I think it's in Kansas that Luca is now living. But we can help with the medical teams, and that's what the foundation is trying to do.
I have a question, particularly since we have a little bit of time until the break, and we're going to talk next about diagnosis and treatment. I'm sort of wondering, Paul, you've been, pardon me, I have a cold, that's why my voice is breaking. You've been, under treatment for many, many years. In your opinion, since you started rigorously and consistently taking the vitamin supplementation, do you think your condition has been relatively stable?
First of all, I still struggle with taking them. There are days where I just go, yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. But generally, my neuropathy in my legs and my ataxia, I think, are very stable. Yes, I don't feel like that stuff is progressing at all. My vision, I feel, is continuing to deteriorate at a slow rate, but I do think it is continuing to go downhill. Now, I haven't had a field of vision test in a while. I was supposed to see an ophthalmologist through my local Kaiser Permanente here, and they canceled because they weren't going to be here. So I got to reach out again and make another appointment, because I haven't had a field of vision test in a few years now, since before COVID. You know, I was probably like everybody here when COVID hit. I locked myself in my bedroom, basically. I said, I am limiting who I see, because I also have COPD. That's thanks to 20 plus years of smoking. I don't smoke anymore, thank goodness. But yeah, no, I don't need anything that's going to make me sick in my lungs. So I have been, knock on wood, very, very lucky I have not gotten COVID. But yeah, so I have kind of stopped a lot of my treatment of A beta the last couple of years because of COVID. But I did talk to a doctor. Kaiser has one doctor in LA who knows anything about A beta, and I had a good conversation with him recently. So yeah, well, you know, I did do my vitamin level testing recently, and as expected, they said, yeah, K and A are okay, no vitamin E, which that's A beta. That we know that. So yeah, I think my ataxia and my neuropathy is pretty stable. My vision is probably still going downhill, but I won't know that until for sure until I get tested again.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. Actually, I apologize, and that if people are reluctant to share their personal experiences on things like this, you know, you don't have to answer the questions.
Of course, and one thing, and I hope you don't mind me saying, Dr. Brin, but Dr. Brin actually treated me at the Mayo Clinic.
Any other questions or comments? Actually, we are doing very well on our time. So especially because Joshua was not able to make it. So we have some time. I just want to get an opinion. Should we take a break or should we continue? Because it has not been that exhausting so far.
I did get a response from Joshua. Give me a second to see what he said. Yeah, he won't be here.
Why don't we take?
I'd be happy to go on if
a short break. Why don't you take a short break and come back like in 8 minutes? You know, at 1:30.
Well, we're good until 2, so we were going to take a 20-minute break.
Yeah.
How long?
Why don't we go to 35 after? So like 12 minutes.
All right, terrific.
I second it.
Okay.
So we meet at 1:45?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think
1:40.
I think he said 1:35.
1:35.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, 1:35 Eastern.
So okay, so that will be about 13 minutes. Okay.
Okay, we'll talk to y'all in a few.
Let's have a break for 13 minutes and we'll come back again. Thank you all for joining us.